Every night, as you close your eyes, your brain begins a process of renewal. The conscious mind, the part that plans and worries, starts to fade. The boundaries of your identity become softer, less defined. You are entering the gateway to the subconscious, where truth rises to the surface and the masks of the day fall away. This is the threshold between waking and sleeping, a liminal space where the brain operates differently. The ego dissolves, defenses lower, and what remains is closer to your true nature. Tonight, we explore this threshold, discovering why you are more honest in the dark and how your brain cleans itself while you sleep. These are not just facts about sleep. They are insights into the hidden architecture of your mind, the structures that operate beneath awareness. As you drift toward rest, let these truths guide you deeper into the quiet. Sleep is not emptiness. It is transformation, renewal, a nightly return to the beginning. Let yourself go. Fact 1. Your brain washes itself during sleep. Your brain produces waste throughout the day, metabolic byproducts that accumulate between neurons. During waking hours, this waste builds up, but at night, something remarkable happens. The glymphatic system activates, a network of channels that flushes toxins from the brain. This system is almost entirely inactive when you are awake, only turning on during sleep. When you fall asleep, your brain cells shrink by about 60%, creating space for cerebrospinal fluid to flow through. The fluid washes away proteins like beta amyloid, which accumulates in Alzheimer's disease. Without adequate sleep, these toxic proteins build up, increasing the risk of dementia. Sleep is not just rest. It is essential maintenance, a deep cleaning that keeps your mind healthy. As you drift off tonight, your brain is preparing for this washing process, getting ready to clear away the debris of the day. Fact 2. You are more honest at night. There is a reason confessions happen in the dark. At night, when the world is quiet, people become more honest, saying things they would never say in daylight. This is not poetic, it is neuroscience. During the day, your prefrontal cortex actively filters what you say, protecting you from revealing too much. But at night, as you grow tired, this filtering weakens. The phenomenon is called disinhibition, and it happens because fatigue reduces the brain's ability to suppress impulses. Late-night conversations reach depths that daytime talk never touches because people feel safer to be vulnerable in darkness. This is why you might text things you regret late at night, or make confessions you later wish you could take back. The night strips away pretense, making us brutally honest. As you lie in bed, notice how your thoughts become less guarded, more true. Fact 3. Nostalgia is a painkiller. Nostalgia is more than just remembering the past. It is a psychological tool that reduces physical and emotional pain. Studies show that when people engage in nostalgic thinking, they report feeling warmer, both literally and emotionally. The brain releases dopamine and other feel-good chemicals when recalling positive memories. Nostalgia also increases social connectedness, reminding you of relationships and experiences that mattered. In moments of loneliness or stress, nostalgic memories act as a buffer, protecting mental health. The past becomes a refuge, a place where things felt simpler or safer. But nostalgia is selective. We remember the good and forget the bad, creating an idealized version of the past. This is not a flaw but a feature, allowing nostalgia to comfort us. As you prepare for sleep, let yourself drift into pleasant memories, letting them soothe you into rest. Fact 4. Dreams speak in metaphors. Your dreams rarely show you things directly. Instead, they communicate through symbols, metaphors, and strange narratives that seem nonsensical upon waking. This is because dreams are processed by the emotional and visual parts of the brain, not the logical prefrontal cortex. The brain takes your worries, desires, and experiences and translates them into imagery. A dream about being chased might represent anxiety about a deadline or relationship. A dream about flying might reflect a desire for freedom or escape. The metaphorical language of dreams is the subconscious mind's way of processing emotions without the constraints of logic. Freud called dreams the royal road to the unconscious, and while his specific interpretations are debated, the idea holds. Dreams reveal what you are feeling beneath the surface. They are not random noise, but meaningful expressions of your inner world. Tonight, if you dream, know that your mind is speaking to you in its own language. Fact 5. The placebo effect works for sleep. If you believe you slept well, you may perform better, even if your actual sleep quality was poor. This is the placebo sleep effect, where belief influences how rested you feel. In studies, people told they slept better than they actually did performed better on cognitive tasks than those told they slept poorly, even though both groups had the same sleep quality. This does not mean sleep is not important. Chronic deprivation has real consequences, but it shows that your beliefs about sleep can shape how you feel and function. If you wake up convinced you slept terribly, you may feel more tired and perform worse, even if your sleep was adequate. The mind is suggestible, and you can use this to your advantage. On nights when sleep is elusive, instead of dwelling on fatigue, tell yourself you rested well enough. This simple shift in mindset can improve your mood and performance, at least in the short term. Fact 6. Silence can be psychologically overwhelming. True silence, the complete absence of sound, is something most people never experience. The quietest place on Earth is an anechoic chamber where background noise measures negative decibels. People who enter this room often cannot stay for more than 45 minutes because the silence becomes unbearable. In total silence, you begin to hear your own body, your heartbeat, blood flow, joints creaking, stomach gurgling. Without external sound to orient yourself, you can lose your sense of balance, and some people even hallucinate. This reaction is rooted in evolution, where silence in nature often meant danger. Predators move silently, and prey freezes when threatened. Our ancestors needed sound to detect threats, so the brain evolved to be uncomfortable with its absence. In the modern world, we fill our lives with noise to avoid this primal discomfort. But approached gradually, silence can be restorative, allowing the mind to settle and thoughts to become clearer. Fact 7. Your mind wanders nearly half the time research suggests. Your mind wanders about 47% of the time you are awake. Even when engaged in an activity, your thoughts drift to the past, future, or other places. This is not a flaw, but a feature of having a powerful imagination. Mind wandering allows you to plan, reflect, and simulate future scenarios, which is essential for creativity and problem solving. But it also has a cost. When your mind wanders, you are less aware of the present moment and generally less happy. The brain has a default mode network that activates when you are not focused on the external world, responsible for daydreaming and self-referential thought. Interestingly, this network is also active during REM sleep when dreaming occurs. The wandering mind of waking life becomes the dreaming mind of sleep. As you prepare for rest, your mind may wander more than usual, processing the day's events and emotions. Fact 8. Sleep deprivation mimics intoxication. Staying awake for 24 hours impairs your performance to the same degree as having a blood alcohol concentration of 0.10% above the legal driving limit. After just 17 hours without sleep, your impairment equals a BAC of 0.05. Both alcohol and sleep deprivation impair the prefrontal cortex, affecting decision-making, impulse control, and complex thought. When this part of the brain is compromised, you make poor decisions and struggle to focus. Unlike alcohol, which people recognize as impairing. Sleep deprivation is often ignored or even celebrated as a badge of dedication. But the impairment is real and dangerous, particularly for tasks requiring attention like driving. Chronic sleep deprivation has cumulative effects. After a week of sleeping 6 hours nightly, your performance equals staying up for 24 hours straight. The solution is simple, but often difficult. Prioritize sleep as you would any essential need. Fact 9. Loneliness disrupts sleep quality. People who feel lonely tend to sleep poorly, waking more often and experiencing less restorative sleep. This is rooted in evolution. For our ancestors, being alone meant vulnerability to predators and lack of resources. The brain evolved to be vigilant when isolated, sleeping lightly and waking at the slightest disturbance. In the modern world, physical danger is less of a concern, but the brain's ancient programming remains. When you feel lonely, your brain interprets it as a threat and increases vigilance, even during sleep. Studies show lonely people have more fragmented sleep, with less time in deep sleep stages. The relationship goes both ways. Poor sleep can increase feelings of loneliness because sleep deprivation makes you more irritable and less socially engaged. Breaking this cycle requires addressing both the loneliness and the sleep through social connection and good sleep hygiene. Tonight, if you feel lonely, know that you are safe and can rest. Fact 10. You forget 95% of your dreams every night. You have 4 to 6 dreams, but by morning most are gone. You forget about 95% of your dreams, and this is not a flaw, but a feature. Dreams are often bizarre and emotionally intense. If you remembered every dream vividly, your waking life would be cluttered with strange narratives. The forgetting happens because during REM sleep, the brain produces less norepinephrine, a neurotransmitter involved in memory formation. Without adequate norepinephrine, dreams are experienced but not stored. The transition from sleep to waking also disrupts memory, erasing fragile dream memories. If you wake during or immediately after a dream, you are more likely to remember it. Some people remember dreams more than others, often because they pay more attention to them or keep dream journals. But most people forget most dreams, and this is normal. The dreams still serve their purpose of processing emotions and consolidating memories. Fact 11. Your body paralyzes itself during REM sleep. When you dream, your body is paralyzed to prevent you from acting out your dreams. This is called rematonia, a protective mechanism controlled by the brainstem. During REM sleep, inhibitory signals block the motor neurons that control voluntary movement. Only your eyes and diaphragm remain active. If your body could move during dreams, you might thrash around and injure yourself or others. Most of the time, you are unaware of this paralysis because you are asleep. But sometimes it persists for a few moments after waking, a condition called sleep paralysis. You are conscious but cannot move, often feeling a weight on your chest or sensing a presence in the room. Sleep paralysis is harmless though frightening, happening when the brain wakes before the body does. It usually lasts only seconds to minutes before the paralysis lifts. Fact 12. Babies dream before birth. Dreaming begins before birth. Fetuses spend much of their time in a state similar to REM sleep with rapid eye movements. By the 3rd trimester, a fetus may spend up to 12 hours daily in this state. What they dream about is uncertain, but it is unlikely to be narrative dreams since they have no visual experiences or memories. Their dreams are probably abstract patterns of sensation, the mother's heartbeat, movement, the rhythm of her voice. The purpose of fetal dreaming is thought to be developmental, helping the rapidly growing brain form connections and build neural architecture. After birth, babies continue spending about half their sleep in REM, far more than adults. The fact that dreaming begins before birth suggests it is a fundamental process, not just a byproduct of waking experience. We were all dreamers before we were awake, before we opened our eyes or took our first breath. Fact 13. Darkness triggers melatonin production. When the sun sets and darkness falls, your brain responds by producing melatonin, a hormone that signals it is time to sleep. The pineal gland deep in the brain controls this production based on light levels detected by specialized cells in the retina. When it is bright, melatonin production is suppressed. When dark, production increases. This is why exposure to bright light at night, especially blue light from screens, can interfere with sleep by tricking the brain into thinking it is still daytime. Melatonin levels rise in the evening, peak in the middle of the night, and decline toward morning as part of your circadian rhythm. This internal 24-hour cycle regulates sleep and wakefulness, synchronized to the external day-night cycle by light. The best way to support natural melatonin production is to create a dark environment in the evening, dim lights, avoid screens, and let your eyes adjust to darkness. Fact 14. Your body temperature drops before sleep. As you prepare for sleep, your body temperature drops by 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit. This cooling is not a side effect but a trigger. The drop in temperature signals to the brain that it is time to sleep. Blood vessels in your skin dilate to release heat, lowering your core temperature. If your body temperature does not drop, you may struggle to fall asleep, which is why a cool bedroom is conducive to rest. The ideal sleep temperature is around 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Taking a warm bath before bed can actually help because when you get out, your body rapidly cools down, and this rapid cooling triggers sleepiness. During REM sleep, the body's ability to regulate temperature is impaired, making you more sensitive to extreme temperatures. As you lie down tonight, you may notice your hands and feet feeling warmer as blood vessels dilate and heat is released. Fact 15. Sleep deprivation amplifies emotions. When you are tired, everything feels more intense. Small annoyances become major frustrations, and sad things feel devastating. Sleep deprivation does not just impair cognition, it amplifies emotion. This happens because lack of sleep affects the amygdala, the brain's emotional processing center. When well rested, the prefrontal cortex keeps the amygdala in check, but when sleep deprived, the prefrontal cortex is impaired and the amygdala becomes hyperactive. Brain imaging shows that sleep-deprived people have a 60% increase in amygdala activity in response to negative images. The emotional brain overreacts, and the rational brain cannot calm it down. This is why tired people are more likely to snap, cry, or feel overwhelmed. The effect applies to positive emotions too. Tired people may laugh more easily or feel more sentimental. Adequate rest restores the balance between emotional and rational brain regions. Fact 16. The brain prioritizes emotional memories. Not all memories are treated equally. Emotional memories tied to strong feelings are prioritized for consolidation during sleep. This is why you remember traumatic events, joyful moments, and intense experiences more vividly than mundane ones. The amygdala tags memories as emotionally significant, and the hippocampus consolidates them during sleep, integrating them into long-term storage. This prioritization is adaptive because emotional events are often important for survival. Remembering what caused fear or joy helps you navigate the world, but this process can be problematic in conditions like PTSD, where traumatic memories are consolidated too strongly and become intrusive. Interestingly, REM sleep may help process and diffuse the emotional charge of memories by replaying them in a neurochemical environment with lower stress hormones. Over time, memories become less emotionally intense. Sleep is emotional healing, allowing the brain to process difficult experiences. Fact 17. You are more creative after sleep. Creativity is about making connections and seeing patterns, and sleep enhances this ability. After a good night's sleep, you are more creative and better at solving problems. This happens because during sleep, especially REM sleep, The brain makes connections that are not obvious during waking. While awake, thinking is focused and logical, but during sleep the brain is more free associative, exploring possibilities. Many famous discoveries came from dreams or the period just after waking. The chemist Kekulé discovered benzene structure after dreaming of a snake biting its tail. When you work on a problem and then sleep, your brain continues working on it unconsciously, exploring different angles. This process is called incubation, and it is why the advice to sleep on it is effective. Sleep reorganizes information, making patterns more visible and solutions more accessible. Fact 18. The transition to sleep is surrender. Sleep is not something you do, but something you allow. You cannot force yourself to sleep. You can only create the conditions and then let go. The transition requires surrender, a release of control and trust in the body's ability to take over. Trying too hard to sleep often backfires because effort itself is a form of wakefulness. Sleep requires the opposite, letting go of the need to control, monitor, or stay vigilant. The process involves a gradual release. First muscles relax, then thoughts slow, time dissolves, awareness of the external world fades, and finally consciousness lets go. For many people, this letting go is difficult because they hold on to worries and resist the vulnerability of sleep. Relaxation techniques, meditation, and deep breathing are effective because they teach the mind and body to release tension and stop trying. As you lie here now, practice letting go of thoughts, worries, plans, and even your sense of self. Fact 19. Hypnic jerks are muscle misfires. You are drifting off when suddenly you jolt awake with a sensation of falling. This is a hypnic jerk, and about 70% of people experience it. The exact cause is not fully understood, but one theory is that as your muscles relax during the transition to sleep, your brain misinterprets the relaxation as falling and sends a signal to catch yourself. Another theory involves the brainstem transitioning from wakefulness to sleep in a process that is not always smooth. Hypnic jerks are more common when you are stressed, anxious, or sleep-deprived, and also more likely if you have consumed caffeine or exercised close to bedtime. The sensation is often accompanied by a brief dream of tripping or falling as the brain creates a narrative to explain the muscle contraction. Hypnic jerks are harmless though startling, and if they happen frequently, it may signal a need to improve sleep hygiene. Fact 20. Time distorts as you fall asleep. Time is a construct of the waking mind, and as you fall asleep, this construct breaks down. Minutes can feel like hours, or hours like minutes. The sense of time becomes fluid and unreliable. This distortion happens because the brain's timekeeping mechanisms are tied to attention and memory. When awake and alert, you track time by noting events and creating a sequence of memories, but as you fall asleep, attention fades and memories are not formed. In the hypnagogic state between waking and sleeping, time feels especially strange. You may have brief dreams that seem to last a long time, but only seconds have passed. This distortion is why insomnia is so frustrating. Lying awake feels endless as every minute stretches out. Conversely, when you do fall asleep, time disappears entirely. You close your eyes and then open them, and hours have passed in what feels like an instant. Let go of time tonight. It is not your friend when trying to sleep. Sleep is not a single state, but a journey through different worlds. Each night, your brain cycles through stages, each with its own purpose and character. You descend from light sleep into deep sleep, then rise into the dream world of REM, and the cycle repeats. This rhythm is ancient, built into your biology over millions of years. The stages of sleep are like movements in a symphony, each contributing to the whole. Deep sleep is when your body repairs itself, when growth hormone is released, when memories are consolidated. REM sleep is when you dream. when emotions are processed, when creativity flourishes. Light sleep is the transition, the bridge between states. Tonight we explore this rhythm, discovering why you need each stage and what happens when the cycle is disrupted. We will learn about the 9-0, minute sleep cycle, the purpose of dreams, and why waking naturally feels different from being jolted awake by an alarm. These facts will guide you deeper into understanding the architecture of your rest. Let the rhythm carry you. Your body knows what to do. Trust the cycle. Fact 21. Sleep happens in 9-0-minute cycles. Your sleep is not continuous, but occurs in cycles lasting about 90 minutes each. During a typical night, you go through 4 to 6 complete cycles, each one taking you through different stages of sleep. The cycle begins with light sleep, descends into deep sleep, and then rises into REM sleep before starting over. Early in the night, you spend more time in deep sleep, which is why the first few hours are the most restorative. As the night progresses, the cycles shift with more time spent in REM sleep and less in deep sleep. This is why dreams are more common and vivid in the early morning hours. If you wake up in the middle of a cycle, you feel groggy and disoriented, but waking at the end of a cycle feels more natural. This is why some people feel more refreshed after 6 hours of sleep than after 7. They woke at the end of a cycle rather than in the middle. Understanding your sleep cycles can help you time your sleep for maximum rest. Fact 22. Deep sleep is when your body repairs itself. Deep sleep, also called slow wave sleep, is the most restorative stage. During this stage, your brain waves slow down dramatically and you become very difficult to wake. This is when your body does most of its physical repair work. Muscles grow, tissues heal, and the immune system strengthens. Growth hormone is released primarily during deep sleep, which is why children and teenagers need more of it than adults. Deep sleep also plays a crucial role in memory consolidation, particularly for declarative memories like facts and events. The brain replays the day's experiences, transferring them from short-term to long-term storage. As you age, you spend less time in deep sleep, which is one reason older adults often feel less rested. Factors like alcohol, stress, and irregular sleep schedules can reduce deep sleep, even if total sleep time remains the same. Prioritizing deep sleep means going to bed at consistent times and creating a sleep environment that supports uninterrupted rest. Fact 23. REM sleep is when you process emotions. REM sleep is the stage where most vivid dreaming occurs, and it serves a crucial emotional function. During REM, the brain processes and integrates emotional experiences from the day, helping you make sense of feelings and relationships. The amygdala, the brain's emotional center, is highly active during REM sleep, replaying emotional memories. But unlike during waking, stress hormones like norepinephrine are suppressed, allowing you to process emotions without the full intensity. This is why you often wake up feeling better about something that upset you the night before. Your brain has processed it during REM sleep. People deprived of REM sleep become more emotionally reactive and have difficulty regulating their moods. MRE sleep also supports creativity and problem solving by allowing the brain to make unusual connections between ideas. The percentage of REM sleep is highest in infancy and decreases with age, though it remains important throughout life. Dreams during REM are often bizarre because the logical prefrontal cortex is less active, while the emotional and visual centers are highly engaged. Fact 24. You dream in all sleep stages. While REM sleep is famous for vivid dreams, you actually dream during all stages of sleep. Dreams during non-REM sleep tend to be more thought-like, less visual, and less bizarre than REM dreams. They are often described as more mundane, like replaying conversations or thinking through problems. REM dreams, by contrast, are narrative, emotional, and filled with strange imagery and impossible scenarios. The difference lies in which parts of the brain are active during each stage. During non-REM sleep, the logical parts of the brain remain somewhat active, so dreams are more coherent. During REM, the emotional and visual centers dominate, creating the surreal quality we associate with dreaming. Most people do not remember non-REM dreams because they are less vivid and less emotionally charged. But if you are awakened during non-REM sleep and asked immediately, you will often report having been thinking or dreaming about something. The fact that we dream throughout the night suggests that dreaming is a fundamental process of sleep, not just a quirk of REM. Fact 25. Waking naturally feels better than alarms. Waking up naturally at the end of a sleep cycle feels very different from being jolted awake by an alarm. When you wake naturally, your body has completed a cycle and is in a lighter stage of sleep, making the transition to wakefulness smooth. But when an alarm wakes you during deep sleep or REM, you experience sleep inertia, a groggy, disoriented feeling that can last for minutes or even hours. Sleep inertia happens because your brain has not finished the current sleep cycle, and it is being forced to transition to wakefulness prematurely. The deeper the sleep stage you are in when awakened, the worse the sleep inertia. This is why hitting the snooze button often makes you feel worse. You fall back into a new sleep cycle that you cannot complete. Some alarm clocks now use sleep tracking to wake you during a lighter stage within a target window, reducing sleep inertia. The ideal scenario is to go to bed early enough that you wake naturally before your alarm, signaling that you have had enough sleep. Your body knows when it has completed its rest. Fact 26. Naps can boost performance or ruin night sleep. Napping can be beneficial or detrimental, depending on when and how long you nap. A short nap of 10 to 20 minutes, sometimes called a power nap, can improve alertness and performance without causing grogginess. These brief naps keep you in light sleep, so you wake up refreshed rather than disoriented. Longer naps of 60 to 90 minutes allow you to complete a full sleep cycle, including deep sleep and possibly REM, which can enhance memory and creativity. However, naps longer than 20 minutes but shorter than 60 can leave you in deep sleep when you wake, causing significant sleep inertia. The timing of naps also matters. Napping too late in the day can interfere with nighttime sleep by reducing sleep pressure, the biological drive to sleep that builds throughout the day. For most people, the ideal nap time is early afternoon, when there is a natural dip in alertness. If you struggle with insomnia, it is often better to avoid naps altogether to preserve sleep pressure for nighttime. Napping is a tool that must be used wisely. Fact 27. Sleep pressure builds throughout the day. The longer you are awake, the stronger your drive to sleep becomes. This is called sleep pressure, and it is controlled by a chemical called adenosine that accumulates in the brain during waking hours. Adenosine binds to receptors in the brain, making you feel increasingly tired as the day goes on. When you sleep, adenosine levels drop, and you wake up feeling refreshed. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine receptors, which is why it makes you feel alert. It does not reduce adenosine, it just prevents it from making you feel tired. This is also why caffeine can interfere with sleep if consumed too late in the day. The adenosine is still there, waiting. Sleep pressure is one of two main systems regulating sleep, the other being the circadian rhythm. Sleep pressure builds linearly throughout the day, while the circadian rhythm oscillates, creating windows when you feel more or less alert. When sleep pressure is high and the circadian rhythm signals nighttime, you feel the strongest urge to sleep. Fact 28. Light exposure controls your internal clock. Your circadian rhythm, the internal 24-hour clock that regulates sleep and wakefulness, is primarily controlled by light exposure. Specialized cells in the retina detect light and send signals to the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain, which acts as the master clock. Bright light, especially blue light, signals to the brain that it is daytime, suppressing melatonin and promoting wakefulness. Darkness signals nighttime, allowing melatonin production to rise. This is why exposure to bright light in the morning helps you wake up and feel alert, while exposure to bright light at night can delay sleep. The circadian rhythm is not exactly 24 hours for most people. It is usually slightly longer, around 24.2 hours. This is why without external cues like light, people tend to drift toward later bedtimes and wake times. Light exposure synchronizes the internal clock to the external 24-hour day. Getting bright light exposure in the morning and dimming lights in the evening is one of the most effective ways to regulate your sleep-wake cycle. Fact 29. Blue light from screens disrupts sleep. Not all light is equal when it comes to sleep. Blue light, the type emitted by phones, tablets, and computer screens, is particularly effective at suppressing melatonin. This is because the retinal cells that detect light for circadian purposes are most sensitive to blue wavelengths. Exposure to blue light in the evening tricks your brain into thinking it is still daytime, delaying the onset of melatonin production and making it harder to fall asleep. Studies show that using screens before bed can delay sleep by an hour or more and reduce sleep quality. The problem is not just the light, but also the content. Engaging with stimulating or stressful material keeps your mind active when it should be winding down. Many devices now have night mode or blue light filters that shift the screen to warmer colors, which are less disruptive. But the most effective solution is to avoid screens for at least an hour before bed. If you must use a device, dimming the screen and using blue light filters can help minimize the impact. Fact 30. Your circadian rhythm changes with age. The timing of your circadian rhythm shifts throughout your life. Young children are naturally early risers, with circadian rhythms that promote early bedtimes and wake times. During adolescence, the rhythm shifts later. Teenagers naturally want to stay up late and sleep in, which is why early school start times are often misaligned with their biology. This shift is driven by changes in melatonin production, which begins later in the evening for teenagers. In adulthood, the rhythm tends to stabilize, though there is significant individual variation. Some people are naturally morning larks, others night owls. As people age into their senior years, the rhythm often shifts earlier again, with older adults tending to go to bed and wake up earlier. Older adults also experience more fragmented sleep and less deep sleep, partly due to changes in circadian regulation. Understanding these age-related changes can help set realistic expectations for sleep and avoid fighting against your natural biology. Teenagers are not lazy. They are biologically programmed to sleep late. Fact 31. Consistency is more important than duration, while getting enough sleep is important. Consistency may be even more crucial for health and well-being. Going to bed and waking up at the same time every day, even on weekends, helps regulate your circadian rhythm and improve sleep quality. Irregular sleep schedules confuse the internal clock, making it harder to fall asleep and wake up. This is why shift workers and people who frequently travel across time zones often struggle with sleep and experience health problems. Studies show that people with irregular sleep schedules have higher rates of obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease, even if they get adequate total sleep. The body thrives on routine, and the circadian system works best when it can predict when sleep will occur. Sleeping in on weekends to catch up on lost sleep can actually make things worse by shifting your rhythm later, a phenomenon called social jet lag. The best approach is to maintain a consistent schedule and, if you need more sleep, go to bed earlier rather than sleeping in. Fact 32. Sleep debt accumulates and cannot be fully repaid. When you do not get enough sleep, you accumulate sleep debt, a deficit that builds up over time. If you need 8 hours but only get 6, you have a 2-hour debt. Over a week, that becomes 14 hours. Sleep debt has real consequences. It impairs cognitive function, mood, and physical health. Many people try to repay sleep debt by sleeping in on weekends, but research shows this does not fully compensate for chronic sleep loss. While you may feel better after a long sleep, your performance on cognitive tasks remains impaired. The body does not simply add up hours. It needs consistent, adequate sleep to function optimally. Chronic sleep debt is linked to serious health problems including obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and shortened lifespan. The only real solution is to prioritize sleep consistently, getting adequate rest every night rather than trying to catch up. Think of sleep like a bank account. You can go into debt, but the interest is steep, and you can never fully repay what you owe. Fact 33. Some people are genetically short sleepers. Most adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, but a small percentage of people function well on much less. These are called short sleepers, and they have genetic mutations that allow them to feel rested on just 4 to 6 hours of sleep. One identified mutation is in the DEC2 gene, which affects circadian regulation. People with this mutation naturally sleep less, wake up feeling refreshed, and show no signs of sleep deprivation. However, true short sleepers are extremely rare, less than 1% of the population. Most people who claim to need little sleep are actually chronically sleep deprived and have adapted to functioning in an impaired state. They may not feel tired, but tests show their cognitive performance is reduced. The difference is that true short sleepers show no impairment. They genuinely need less sleep. For the vast majority of people, claiming to function well on 5 hours of sleep is self-deception, not genetics. Fact 34. Sleep position affects dreams and health. The position you sleep in can influence both your dreams and your physical health. People who sleep on their stomachs report more dreams with sexual content and sensations of being smothered or unable to breathe. This is likely because stomach sleeping can restrict breathing and put pressure on the chest. Sleeping on your back can increase the likelihood of sleep apnea and snoring because gravity pulls the tongue and soft tissues backward, partially blocking the airway. Side sleeping, particularly on the left side, is often recommended for health. It reduces acid reflux, improves circulation, and may even help the brain clear waste more efficiently through the lymphatic system. Sleeping on the right side can worsen acid reflux for some people. The position you fall asleep in is not necessarily the position you stay in. Most people shift positions multiple times during the night. If you have chronic pain, sleep apnea, or digestive issues, adjusting your sleep position may help, though changing ingrained habits can be difficult. Fact 35. Your brain replays memories during sleep. During sleep, particularly during deep sleep and REM, your brain replays the experiences of the day. This replay is not random. It is selective, focusing on important or emotionally significant events. Researchers have recorded neural activity in the hippocampus, the brain's memory center, and found that the same patterns that fire when you learn something during the day fire again during sleep. This replay is thought to be how memories are consolidated, transferred from temporary storage in the hippocampus to long-term storage in the cortex. The process can be enhanced. Studies show that if you learn something and then sleep, you remember it better than if you stay awake for the same amount of time. Interestingly, you can even cue specific memories for replay by associating them with a smell or sound during learning and then presenting that cue during sleep. This technique, called targeted memory reactivation, has been shown to strengthen specific memories. Your brain is working hard during sleep, organizing and strengthening the knowledge you acquired while awake. Fact 36. Sleep spindles protect sleep from disruption. Sleep spindles are brief bursts of brain activity that occur during light sleep, appearing as rapid oscillations on an EEG. They last only a second or two but occur frequently throughout the night. Sleep spindles are thought to serve two main functions. They help consolidate memories, and they protect sleep from external disruptions. When a sleep spindle occurs, the brain is less likely to be awakened by noise or other disturbances. People who produce more sleep spindles tend to sleep more soundly and are less bothered by environmental noise. The number and quality of sleep spindles vary between individuals and can be affected by stress, age, and sleep disorders. Interestingly, intelligence has been correlated with sleep spindle activity. People with higher IQs tend to produce more sleep spindles, possibly because spindles are involved in memory consolidation and learning. Sleep spindles are one of many rhythms the brain produces during sleep, each serving a specific purpose in the complex architecture of rest. Fact 37. Temperature regulation fails during REM. During most of sleep, your body maintains its temperature through shivering when cold and sweating when hot. But during REM sleep, this regulation is impaired. You become temporarily poikilothermic, like a cold-blooded animal. You cannot shiver or sweat effectively, and your body temperature drifts toward the ambient temperature. This is why extreme temperatures can disrupt REM sleep. If the room is too hot or too cold, your body cannot compensate, and you wake up or shift to a different sleep stage. The loss of temperature regulation during REM is one reason why a comfortable sleep environment is so important. The ideal bedroom temperature for sleep is around 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit, cool enough to support the natural drop in body temperature, but not so cold that it disrupts REM. Interestingly, this loss of regulation may be why we rarely dream about being too hot or too cold. The brain is not receiving strong temperature signals during REM. The body sacrifices temperature control during REM, suggesting that whatever happens during this stage is important enough to warrant the trade-off. Fact 38. Sleep talking happens in all stages. Sleep talking or somniloquy can occur during any stage of sleep, though the content differs depending on the stage. During REM sleep, sleep talking is often related to dream content and may be more emotional or narrative. During non-REM sleep, it tends to be simpler, sometimes just mumbling or brief phrases. Most sleep talking is harmless and brief, lasting only a few seconds. The person talking is usually not aware of it and will not remember it upon waking. Sleep talking is more common in children and tends to decrease with age, though some adults continue to talk in their sleep throughout their lives. It can be triggered by stress, fever, sleep deprivation, or alcohol consumption. In rare cases, sleep talking can be associated with sleep disorders like REM sleep behavior disorder, where the normal paralysis of REM sleep is absent and people act out their dreams. For most people, sleep talking is just a quirk, a window into the sleeping mind that reveals fragments of dreams or thoughts. Fact 39. You stop regulating breathing during REM. Just as temperature regulation is impaired during REM sleep, so is breathing regulation. During non-REM sleep, breathing is controlled automatically by the brainstem maintaining a steady rhythm. But during REM, breathing becomes irregular, sometimes rapid and shallow, sometimes pausing briefly. This is because the voluntary control of breathing is suppressed during REM and the automatic control is less precise. For most people, this irregularity is not a problem, but for people with respiratory conditions or sleep apnea, REM sleep can be particularly challenging. The irregular breathing combined with the loss of muscle tone can lead to more frequent apneas, periods where breathing stops. This is one reason why sleep apnea is often worse during REM sleep. The brain prioritizes the dream experience during REM, even at the cost of precise control over basic functions like breathing and temperature. This suggests that REM sleep serves a critical function, important enough that the brain is willing to sacrifice some regulatory control to achieve it. Fact 40. Sleep is an evolutionary mystery. Despite decades of research, scientists still do not fully understand why we sleep. Sleep is universal among animals. Every creature with a nervous system sleeps in some form. But sleep is also risky. It leaves you vulnerable to predators, unable to find food or mates, unconscious and defenseless. From an evolutionary perspective, sleep must provide benefits that outweigh these significant costs. We know that sleep is essential for memory consolidation, emotional regulation, physical repair, and waste clearance from the brain. But we do not know if these are the reasons sleep evolved or just beneficial side effects. Some researchers believe sleep evolved primarily for energy conservation, allowing animals to save energy during times when they are not active. Others argue that sleep is fundamentally about brain maintenance, a necessary offline period for the brain to reorganize and repair itself. The fact that we still do not fully understand why we sleep, despite its obvious importance, is a reminder of how much we have yet to learn about the brain and consciousness. Sleep remains one of the great mysteries of biology. Beneath your conscious awareness, patterns are forming. Your mind is constantly processing information, making connections, learning from experience. Most of this happens without your knowledge, in the vast territory of the subconscious. The subconscious is not a mystical realm, but a set of automatic processes that run in the background, shaping your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. These patterns influence everything from the decisions you make to the people you are attracted to. They determine what you notice and what you ignore, what you remember and what you forget. The subconscious is efficient, handling routine tasks so your conscious mind can focus on novel challenges, but it can also trap you in habits and biases that no longer serve you. Tonight, we explore these hidden patterns, discovering how your mind learns without awareness, why habits are so hard to break, and how your brain fills in gaps in perception. These facts reveal the invisible architecture that supports your conscious experience, the foundation upon which your waking life is built. The patterns are always there, working in silence. Let them guide you toward rest. Fact 41. Most of your decisions are unconscious. You like to think you're in control of your decisions, but research suggests that most choices are made unconsciously before you are aware of them. In famous experiments, brain activity predicting a decision can be detected up to 10 seconds before the person reports making the choice. This does not mean you have no free will, but it does suggest that conscious awareness is often the last step in a decision-making process that happens largely outside awareness. Your brain evaluates options, weighs outcomes, and arrives at a conclusion, and only then does the decision enter consciousness. This unconscious processing is efficient. It allows you to make quick decisions based on past experience without having to consciously deliberate every time. But it also means you are influenced by factors you are not aware of, like priming, context, and emotional state. Advertising and marketing exploit this by creating associations that influence unconscious decision-making. Understanding that most decisions are unconscious can help you become more mindful, pausing to examine choices rather than acting on autopilot. The conscious mind is the tip of the iceberg, and most of the work happens below the surface. Fact 42. Your brain fills in missing information. Your perception of the world is not a direct recording of reality, but a construction created by your brain. When information is missing or ambiguous, your brain fills in the gaps based on expectations and past experience. This is why you can read text with missing letters, why you do not notice the blind spot in your vision, and why eyewitness testimony is often unreliable. The brain is a prediction machine, constantly generating hypotheses about what is out there and updating them based on sensory input. When input is unclear, the brain relies more heavily on predictions, which can lead to errors. Optical illusions exploit this by creating situations where the brain's predictions are wrong, revealing the constructive nature of perception. This filling in happens automatically and unconsciously. You are not aware that your brain is making things up. In everyday life, this is usually helpful, allowing you to perceive a stable, coherent world despite incomplete information. But it also means your perception is subjective, shaped by your expectations and biases. What you see is not always what is there. Fact 43. Habits form through repetition and reward. Habits are behaviors that have become automatic through repetition. They are controlled by a part of the brain called the basal ganglia, which is involved in procedural learning and routine behaviors. When you repeat a behavior in a consistent context and receive a reward, the brain strengthens the association between the context, the behavior, and the reward. Over time, the behavior becomes automatic. You do it without thinking. This is why habits are so powerful and so difficult to change. The behavior is no longer controlled by the conscious, goal-directed system, but by the automatic, habitual system. Breaking a habit requires conscious effort to override the automatic response, which is mentally taxing. The most effective way to change a habit is to change the context or the cue that triggers it, making it harder for the automatic behavior to occur. Alternatively, you can replace the behavior with a new one that provides a similar reward. Understanding the neuroscience of habits can help you build good ones and break bad ones, but it requires patience and consistency. Fact 44. You have multiple memory systems. Memory is not a single thing, but a collection of different systems, each serving a different purpose. Declarative memory is the memory of facts and events, the kind you can consciously recall and describe. It includes episodic memory, which is memory for specific experiences, and semantic memory, which is memory for general knowledge. Procedural memory is the memory of how to do things, like riding a bike or typing on a keyboard. It is unconscious and automatic. You cannot easily describe how you do these things, you just do them. Working memory is the temporary storage system that holds information you are currently using, like a phone number you're about to dial. Each of these systems relies on different brain regions and operates according to different principles. Declarative memory is flexible and conscious, while procedural memory is rigid and unconscious. Understanding these different systems can help you learn more effectively. For example, procedural skills require practice and repetition, while declarative knowledge benefits from elaboration and connection to existing knowledge. Fact 45. Priming influences your thoughts and behavior. Priming is the phenomenon where exposure to one stimulus influences your response to another stimulus, often without your awareness. For example, if you are shown words related to old age, you may walk more slowly afterward, even though you are not consciously thinking about aging. Priming works by activating concepts in memory, making them more accessible and more likely to influence subsequent thoughts and behaviors. The effects are usually subtle and short-lived, but they are real and have been demonstrated in hundreds of studies. Priming can affect everything from your mood to your performance on cognitive tasks to your social judgments. Advertisers use priming to create positive associations with their products, and politicians use it to frame issues in ways that favor their positions. Being aware of priming can help you recognize when you are being influenced, though it is difficult to completely avoid its effects. The unconscious mind is constantly being shaped by the environment, and priming is one of the mechanisms by which this happens. Fact 46. Your attention is limited and selective. You cannot pay attention to everything at once. Attention is a limited resource, and your brain must constantly choose what to focus on and what to ignore. This selection is based on goals, expectations, and the salience of stimuli. Things that are bright, loud, moving, or emotionally significant are more likely to capture attention. But even salient stimuli can be missed if your attention is focused elsewhere, a phenomenon called inattentional blindness. In famous experiments, people watching a video and counting basketball passes fail to notice a person in a gorilla suit walking through the scene. This is not a failure of vision, but a failure of attention. The gorilla is visible, but it is not attended to. Attention is also influenced by top-down factors like expectations and goals, which can cause you to miss unexpected things. Understanding the limits of attention can help you be more mindful of what you might be missing and more forgiving of others when they fail to notice something obvious. Your brain is doing the best it can with limited resources. Fact 47. Multitasking is a myth. You cannot actually do two cognitively demanding tasks at the same time. What feels like multitasking is actually rapid task switching, where your attention shifts back and forth between tasks. Each switch has a cost. It takes time to disengage from one task, shift attention, and re-engage with the other. These costs add up, making multitasking less efficient than focusing on one task at a time. Studies show that people who multitask perform worse on both tasks than people who focus on one task. Multitasking also increases errors and stress. The only exception is when one of the tasks is so automatic that it requires little attention, like walking while talking. But for tasks that require conscious thought, multitasking is a myth. The brain is a serial processor, not a parallel one. Understanding this can help you be more productive. Instead of trying to do everything at once, focus on one thing at a time, complete it, and then move on to the next. Your brain will thank you. Fact 48. You are biased toward confirming your beliefs. Confirmation bias is the tendency to seek out, interpret, and remember information in ways that confirm your existing beliefs. If you believe something, you are more likely to notice evidence that supports it and ignore evidence that contradicts it. This bias is pervasive and affects everyone, regardless of intelligence or education. It is one reason why people can look at the same evidence and reach opposite conclusions. They are filtering it through different beliefs. Confirmation bias is driven by the desire to be right and the discomfort of cognitive dissonance, the mental tension that arises when you hold contradictory beliefs. It is easier to dismiss contradictory evidence than to revise your beliefs. This bias is particularly strong for beliefs that are central to your identity or worldview. Overcoming confirmation bias requires conscious effort, actively seeking out disconfirming evidence, considering alternative explanations, and being willing to change your mind. It is difficult but essential for critical thinking. Recognizing your own confirmation bias is the first step toward more objective reasoning. Fact 49. Your brain prefers patterns and meaning. The human brain is a pattern-seeking machine. It is constantly looking for regularities, connections, and meaning in the world. This tendency is adaptive. Recognizing patterns allows you to predict the future and respond appropriately. But it can also lead to errors, like seeing patterns where none exist. This is called apophenia, and it is the basis for superstitions, conspiracy theories, and belief in the paranormal. People see faces in clouds, hear messages in random noise, and find meaning in coincidences. The brain is so eager to find patterns that it will create them even from random data. This is why randomness feels wrong to most people. Truly random sequences often contain clusters and streaks that look non-random. The preference for patterns also drives the need for narrative and explanation. People are uncomfortable with uncertainty and randomness, so they create stories to make sense of events. Understanding this tendency can help you be more skeptical of patterns and more accepting of randomness and uncertainty. Not everything has a deeper meaning. Fact 50. Emotions guide your decisions. Emotions are not the opposite of rationality. They are an essential part of decision-making. People with damage to brain regions involved in emotional often struggle to make decisions, even simple ones, because they lack the emotional signals that guide choices. Emotions provide information about what matters, what is safe, what is threatening, what is rewarding. They are a form of rapid, unconscious evaluation that complements slower, conscious reasoning. The somatic marker hypothesis proposes that emotions create bodily sensations that mark certain options as good or bad, guiding decisions without conscious deliberation. This is why gut feelings can be surprisingly accurate, especially in domains where you have experience. But emotions can also mislead, particularly when they are intense or when the situation is unfamiliar. Fear can make you overly cautious, anger can make you reckless, and excitement can make you impulsive. The key is to recognize the role of emotions in decision-making and use them as information rather than letting them control you. Emotions and reason work best together. Fact 51. You adapt to both good and bad circumstances. Humans are remarkably adaptable. You can adjust to almost any circumstance, good or bad, and return to a baseline level of happiness. This is called hedonic adaptation, and it explains why lottery winners are not much happier a year after winning, and why people who become paralyzed often return to near baseline happiness after an initial period of adjustment. The brain has a set point for happiness, and external circumstances have less impact on long-term well-being than you might expect. This is both good and bad news. The bad news is that positive changes, like a promotion or a new relationship, will not make you happy forever. You will adapt and take them for granted. The good news is that negative changes, like a setback or loss, will not make you miserable forever. You will adapt and find a new normal. Understanding hedonic adaptation can help you set realistic expectations and focus on things that provide lasting satisfaction, like relationships, purpose, and personal growth, rather than chasing external achievements. Happiness is more about how you relate to your circumstances than the circumstances themselves. Fact 52. Your self-control is a limited resource. Self-control, the ability to override impulses and resist temptation, is a limited resource that can be depleted. This is called ego depletion, and it explains why self-control is harder at the end of the day or after you have already exerted willpower in other areas. Each act of self-control draws from the same pool of mental energy, and when the pool is depleted, you are more likely to give in to temptation. Studies show that people who resist eating cookies perform worse on subsequent tasks requiring self-control, like solving difficult puzzles. The good news is that self-control can be replenished with rest, food, and positive emotions. It can also be strengthened over time, like a muscle, through regular practice. Understanding ego depletion can help you manage your willpower more effectively, tackle difficult tasks when you are fresh, avoid situations that require self-control when you are depleted, and build habits that reduce the need for constant willpower. Self-control is powerful but finite, so use it wisely. Fact 53. You overestimate your ability to multitask. Most people believe they are good at multitasking, but research shows that this belief is an illusion. In fact, people who multitask the most tend to be the worst at it, and they are also the most confident in their abilities. This is an example of the Dunning-Kruger effect, where people with low competence overestimate their abilities. Heavy multitaskers perform worse on tests of task switching, filtering out irrelevant information, and working memory. They are more easily distracted and less able to focus, yet they persist in multitasking because it feels productive and because they do not realize how much it is impairing their performance. The subjective experience of multitasking is that you are getting a lot done, but objective measures show that you are less efficient and making more errors. Understanding this gap between perception and reality can help you resist the temptation to multitask and instead focus on one thing at a time. Your brain is not designed for multitasking, no matter how good you think you are at it. Fact 54. Sleep deprivation impairs insight and creativity. While we have discussed how sleep enhances creativity, it is worth noting that sleep deprivation has the opposite effect. When you are sleep deprived, you are less able to think flexibly, make connections between distant concepts, or have insights. The brain regions involved in creative thinking, particularly the prefrontal cortex and the default mode network, are impaired by lack of sleep. Sleep-deprived people tend to think more rigidly, relying on familiar solutions rather than exploring new possibilities. They are also less able to recognize when a problem requires a creative solution. This is one reason why all-nighters are counterproductive for creative work. You may put in more hours, but the quality of your thinking suffers. The relationship between sleep and creativity is bidirectional. Sleep enhances creativity, and sleep deprivation impairs it. If you are stuck on a problem, the best thing you can do is sleep on it. Your brain will work on it during the night, and you may wake up with a solution. Fact 55: your memory is reconstructive, not reproductive. When you remember something, you are not playing back a recording. You are reconstructing the memory from fragments, filling in gaps and interpreting the past through the lens of the present. This is why memories change over time, why they are influenced by suggestion, and why eyewitness testimony is unreliable. Each time you recall a memory, you are essentially creating it anew, and it can be altered in the process. Studies show that people can develop false memories of events that never happened, simply through suggestion or imagination. The misinformation effect demonstrates that exposure to misleading information after an event can change your memory of the event. Memory is not a faithful record, but a construction, shaped by your beliefs, emotions, and current context. Understanding this can help you be more skeptical of your own memories and more compassionate toward others whose memories differ from yours. The past is not fixed, it is constantly being rewritten in the present. Fact 56: you are more influenced by stories than statistics. Humans are storytelling creatures. We are more persuaded by a compelling narrative than by statistical evidence, even when the statistics are more reliable. A single vivid anecdote can outweigh data from thousands of cases. This is because stories are easier to remember, more emotionally engaging, and more relatable than abstract numbers. The brain is wired to process narrative. Stories have characters, motivations, conflicts and resolutions, all of which make them memorable and persuasive. Statistics, by contrast, are abstract and impersonal. This preference for stories over statistics can lead to poor decisions, like overestimating rare risks because of a dramatic news story, or underestimating common risks because they lack a compelling narrative. Understanding this bias can help you seek out statistical evidence and weigh it appropriately rather than being swayed by vivid but unrepresentative examples. Stories are powerful, but they are not always accurate guides to reality. Fact 57: your brain has a negativity bias. The brain is more sensitive to negative information than positive information. Bad experiences have a stronger impact than good ones. Negative emotions last longer than positive ones, and you remember criticism more than praise. This is called the negativity bias, and it is rooted in evolution. Paying attention to threats was more important for survival than savoring rewards. An ancestor who missed a predator did not get a second chance, but one who missed a berry patch could try again tomorrow. The negativity bias is adaptive in dangerous environments, but in modern life it can lead to excessive worry, pessimism, and stress. It also affects relationships. Negative interactions have a much stronger impact than positive ones, which is why it takes multiple positive interactions to offset a single negative one. Understanding the negativity bias can help you counteract it by consciously focusing on positive experiences, practicing gratitude, and putting negative events in perspective. The bias is automatic, but you can choose how to respond to it. Fact 58: you experience the spotlight effect. You tend to overestimate how much other people notice and remember about you. This is called the spotlight effect, and it is the feeling that you are the center of attention, that everyone is watching and judging you. In reality, people are mostly focused on themselves and pay much less attention to you than you think. Studies show that when people make an embarrassing mistake, they believe others will remember it far longer than they actually do. The spotlight effect is driven by the fact that you are the center of your own experience. You are acutely aware of your appearance, behavior, and mistakes. But others are the center of their own experiences, and they are not paying as much attention to you as you imagine. Understanding the spotlight effect can reduce social anxiety and self-consciousness. Most people are too busy worrying about themselves to scrutinize you. You are not as visible as you feel. Fact 59. Your brain simulates the future. One of the brain's most important functions is to simulate possible futures. You constantly imagine what might happen, how you might feel, and what you might do in various scenarios. This mental time travel allows you to plan, prepare, and make decisions. The same brain regions involved in remembering the past are involved in imagining the future, suggesting that both are forms of mental simulation. However, your simulations are often inaccurate. You tend to overestimate how happy or unhappy future events will make you, a phenomenon called affective forecasting error. You also underestimate your ability to adapt to change. This is why you worry about things that turn out to be manageable, and why anticipated pleasures often disappoint. The brain is good at simulating, but it is not always accurate. Understanding this can help you take your predictions about the future with a grain of salt and be more open to how things actually unfold. Fact 60. Sleep helps you forget what does not matter. While sleep is essential for consolidating important memories, it also helps you forget irrelevant information. The brain does not have unlimited storage, so it must be selective about what to keep. During sleep, particularly during REM, the brain strengthens important memories and weakens unimportant ones. This process is called synaptic homeostasis, and it prevents the brain from becoming cluttered with trivial details. Forgetting is not a failure of memory, but an adaptive process that allows you to focus on what matters. If you remembered every detail of every day, you would be overwhelmed with information and unable to see patterns or make generalizations. Sleep helps you extract the gist of experiences, retaining the meaningful parts and discarding the rest. This is why you often wake up with a clearer sense of what is important, having forgotten the irrelevant details. Forgetting is as important as remembering, and sleep facilitates both. You are not an island. Your mind is shaped by other minds, by the relationships you form, the groups you belong to, and the culture you inhabit. From the moment you are born, you are learning how to be human by watching and imitating others. Your sense of self is constructed in relation to other people, and your well-being depends on social connection. The social mind is one of the most complex aspects of human psychology. You are constantly reading faces, interpreting tone, predicting behavior, and adjusting your own actions based on social contexts. Most of this happens automatically, beneath conscious awareness. You are a social creature, and your brain is wired for connection. Tonight we explore the social mind, discovering why loneliness is painful, how empathy works, and why you conform to group norms even when you know they are wrong. These facts reveal the invisible threads that connect you to others, the social architecture that supports your individual existence. You are never truly alone. The social mind is always with you, even in sleep. Fact 61. Loneliness is physically painful. Loneliness is not just an emotional state, it activates the same brain regions as physical pain. When you feel socially rejected or isolated, the anterior cingulate cortex, which processes pain, becomes active. This is why social rejection hurts, why being excluded feels like a punch to the gut. The brain treats social pain like physical pain because, for our ancestors, social connection was essential for survival. Being excluded from the group meant vulnerability to predators, lack of resources, and reduced chances of reproduction. The brain evolved to make social disconnection painful, motivating you to seek connection and avoid rejection. Chronic loneliness has serious health consequences, comparable to smoking or obesity. It increases inflammation, weakens the immune system, raises blood pressure, and increases the risk of heart disease and dementia. Loneliness is not a character flaw or a sign of weakness. It is a signal that a fundamental need is not being met. Understanding that loneliness is painful can help you take it seriously and prioritize social connection as an essential part of health. Fact 62. You unconsciously mimic others when you interact with someone. You unconsciously mimic their facial expressions, posture, and gestures. This is called the chameleon effect, and it happens automatically without awareness or intention. If someone smiles, you smile. If they cross their arms, you might cross yours. This mimicry serves a social function. It creates rapport, signals that you are paying attention, and helps you understand what the other person is feeling. Mimicry is linked to empathy. The more you mimic someone, the better you can understand their emotional state. People who are good at mimicry tend to be more empathic and socially skilled. Conversely, people who are mimicked tend to like the mimicker more and feel more positively about the interaction. This is why salespeople and therapists often unconsciously mirror their clients. The chameleon effect is one of many subtle ways that social interaction is coordinated and synchronized. You are constantly influencing and being influenced by others, even in the smallest gestures. Fact 63. Empathy has limits. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, is often celebrated as a virtue, but empathy has limits and biases. You are more empathic toward people who are similar to you, people you like, and people who are physically close. You are less empathic toward people who are different, distant, or perceived as threatening. This is called the empathy gap, and it can lead to moral failures. You may care deeply about suffering you can see and relate to while ignoring suffering that is abstract or distant. Empathy is also emotionally costly. Feeling others' pain can be exhausting and overwhelming, leading to compassion fatigue in caregivers and helping professionals. Some researchers argue that empathy is not always the best guide for moral action, that it can be biased and short-sighted. Compassion, a related but distinct emotion, may be more sustainable. It involves caring about others' suffering without necessarily feeling it yourself. Understanding the limits of empathy can help you extend your concern more broadly and avoid burnout. Fact 64. You conform more than you think. Humans are conformists. You are influenced by the opinions and behaviors of others, often without realizing it. In classic experiments, people give obviously wrong answers to simple questions just because everyone else in the room is giving that answer. This is called conformity, and it is driven by two motives: the desire to be right and the desire to be liked. When you are uncertain, you look to others for information, assuming they know something you do not. When you want to fit in, you go along with the group to avoid rejection. Conformity is not always bad. It allows societies to function, creates shared norms, and facilitates cooperation. But it can also lead to groupthink, where dissenting opinions are suppressed and bad decisions go unchallenged. Understanding your tendency to conform can help you think more independently and speak up when you disagree. Conformity is powerful, but it is not inevitable. Awareness is the first step toward resistance. Fact 65. Social rejection triggers aggression. When people feel rejected or excluded, they often respond with aggression. Studies show that people who are socially rejected are more likely to behave aggressively toward others, even toward people who are not involved in the rejection. This is because rejection threatens a fundamental need for belonging, and aggression is a way to reassert control and regain status. The link between rejection and aggression helps explain phenomena like school shootings, where perpetrators often have a history of social exclusion. Rejection also impairs self-control, making it harder to regulate aggressive impulses. The pain of rejection is so intense that it can override rational thought and moral inhibitions. Understanding this link can help in preventing violence. Interventions that reduce social exclusion and teach healthy ways to cope with rejection can reduce aggression. Rejection is not just an individual problem but a social one, and addressing it requires creating more inclusive communities. Fact 66. You have an implicit bias. Implicit bias refers to the attitudes and stereotypes that affect your understanding, actions, and decisions in an unconscious manner. Even people who consciously reject prejudice can harbor implicit biases based on race, gender, age, and other categories. These biases are measured using tests like the implicit association test, which shows that most people have automatic associations between certain groups and positive or negative attributes. Implicit biases are learned from culture, media, and experience, and they operate outside conscious awareness. They can influence hiring decisions, medical treatment, legal judgments, and everyday interactions in ways that perpetuate inequality. The good news is that implicit biases are not fixed. They can be reduced through awareness, exposure to counter-stereotypical examples, and deliberate effort to override automatic associations. Understanding that you have implicit biases is not an indictment of your character, but a recognition of how the mind works. Awareness is the first step toward change. Fact 67. Touch reduces stress and pain. Physical touch is a powerful form of social connection. A hug, a pat on the back, or holding hands can reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and even reduce physical pain. Touch activates the release of oxytocin, a hormone associated with bonding and trust, and it reduces cortisol, the stress hormone. Studies show that people who receive massages or hugs have stronger immune systems and recover faster from illness. Touch also communicates emotion. You can accurately identify emotions like love, gratitude, and sympathy from touch alone. Infants who are not touched enough fail to thrive, and adults who lack physical contact experience higher rates of depression and anxiety. In modern society, touch is often restricted by social norms and concerns about appropriateness, leading to what some call a touch famine. Understanding the importance of touch can help you seek out appropriate physical contact and recognize it as a basic human need, not a luxury. Fact 68. You judge others in milliseconds. First impressions form incredibly quickly. Within milliseconds of seeing a face, you make judgments about trustworthiness, competence, and likability. These snap judgments are based on facial features and expressions, and they are remarkably consistent across people. Faces that are more symmetrical, average, and expressive are generally judged more positively. The problem is that these quick judgments are often inaccurate and biased. They are influenced by stereotypes, and they can lead to discrimination. For example, people with more mature or dominant-looking faces are more likely to be hired for leadership positions, even when their actual competence is the same. First impressions are also sticky. Once formed, they are hard to change, even in the face of contradictory evidence. Understanding how quickly and automatically you judge others can help you slow down, seek more information, and give people a fair chance. First impressions are powerful, but they are not destiny. Fact 69. Gratitude improves well-being. Gratitude, the practice of recognizing and appreciating the good things in your life, has been shown to improve mental and physical health. People who regularly practice gratitude report higher levels of happiness, lower levels of depression and anxiety, better sleep, and stronger relationships. Gratitude works by shifting attention away from what is lacking toward what is present, counteracting the negativity bias. It also strengthens social bonds. Expressing gratitude to others makes them feel valued and increases their willingness to help in the future. Gratitude can be cultivated through simple practices like keeping a gratitude journal, writing thank you notes, or taking a few moments each day to reflect on what you are thankful for. The effects are not immediate but build over time with consistent practice. Gratitude is not about denying problems or pretending everything is fine. It is about recognizing that even in difficult circumstances, there are things worth appreciating. It is a skill that can be learned and strengthened. Fact 70. You are happier when helping others. Helping others makes you happier. This is called the helper's high, and it is supported by research showing that people who volunteer, donate to charity, or perform acts of kindness report greater life satisfaction and well-being. The effect is not just about feeling good. Helping others activates reward centers in the brain, releasing dopamine and creating a sense of purpose. Helping also strengthens social connections, which are a key predictor of happiness. Interestingly, the benefits of helping are greater when the help is voluntary, when you have a personal connection to the recipient, and when you can see the impact of your actions. Helping others can also provide a sense of perspective, reminding you that your problems are not the only ones in the world. The paradox is that focusing on others' needs can improve your own well-being. Understanding this can motivate you to seek out opportunities to help, not out of obligation, but because it genuinely makes you happier. Fact 71. Your mood is contagious. Emotions spread from person to person like a virus. If you spend time with someone who is happy, you are more likely to feel happy. If you spend time with someone who is anxious or depressed, you are more likely to feel anxious or depressed. This is called emotional contagion, and it happens through unconscious mimicry of facial expressions, tone of voice, and body language. When you mimic someone's expression, you activate the same emotional state in yourself. Emotional contagion is adaptive. It allows groups to coordinate and respond to threats or opportunities together. But it also means you are constantly being influenced by the emotional states of those around you. This is why toxic relationships can be so draining, and why positive, supportive relationships are so energizing. Understanding emotional contagion can help you be more mindful of who you spend time with and how you manage your own emotional state. You are not just responsible for your own emotions, but also, to some extent, for the emotions you spread to others. Fact 72. You overestimate how much others think about you just as you experience the spotlight effect, believing others are paying more attention to you than they are. You also overestimate how much others think about you after an interaction. You replay conversations in your mind, worrying about what you said or how you came across, assuming the other person is doing the same. In reality, they are probably not thinking about you at all. They are thinking about themselves. This is because everyone is the protagonist of their own story, focused on their own concerns and experiences. The illusion of transparency is related. You believe your internal states are more visible to others than they actually are. You think your nervousness, embarrassment, or discomfort is obvious, but others usually do not notice. Understanding these biases can reduce social anxiety and self-consciousness. Most people are too preoccupied with their own lives to scrutinize yours. You are free to make mistakes, to be imperfect, because no one is watching as closely as you think. Fact 73. Relationships require maintenance. Relationships do not sustain themselves. They require ongoing effort and attention. This is true for friendships, romantic partnerships, and family relationships. Without regular contact, shared experiences, and emotional investment, relationships fade. The maintenance required varies by relationship type. Close relationships need more frequent and deeper interaction, while casual friendships can be sustained with less. One key aspect of relationship maintenance is responsiveness, showing that you care about the other person's thoughts, feelings, and experiences. This can be as simple as listening attentively, asking follow-up questions, and remembering important details. Another aspect is managing conflict constructively. All relationships have disagreements, but how you handle them determines whether the relationship strengthens or deteriorates. Relationships also benefit from novelty and shared activities that create positive memories. Understanding that relationships require maintenance can help you prioritize them and invest the time and energy needed to keep them healthy. Relationships are like gardens. They need tending. Fact 74. You are influenced by social norms. Social norms are the unwritten rules that govern behavior in a society or group. They dictate what is acceptable, expected, and valued. You are constantly influenced by social norms, often without awareness. Norms are enforced through social approval and disapproval. Conforming brings acceptance, while violating norms brings rejection or punishment. Norms can be descriptive, describing what most people do, or injunctive, describing what most people approve of. Both types influence behavior, but injunctive norms are often more powerful. For example, if you believe most people recycle because it is the right thing to do, you are more likely to recycle than if you just believe most people recycle. Social norms can be changed, and changing norms is one of the most effective ways to change behavior at a population level. Public health campaigns often work by shifting norms around behaviors like smoking, drunk driving, or littering. Understanding the power of social norms can help you recognize when you are being influenced and consider whether the norm serves you or society. Fact 75. You have a fundamental attribution error when explaining others' behavior. You tend to overemphasize personality and underemphasize situation. This is called the fundamental attribution error. If someone cuts you off in traffic, you assume they are a rude person, not that they might be rushing to an emergency. If a student fails a test, you assume they are lazy, not that they might be dealing with personal problems. This error happens because personality is more salient and easier to see than situational factors, which are often invisible or unknown. Interestingly, you do not make the same error when explaining your own behavior. You're more likely to attribute your actions to situational factors. If you cut someone off, it is because you were in a hurry, not because you were rude. This asymmetry is called the actor-observer bias. Understanding the fundamental attribution error can make you more charitable in your judgments of others and more aware of how situations shape behavior. People are not just their actions, they are responding to contexts you may not see. Fact 76. Smiling makes you happier. The relationship between emotion and facial expression is bidirectional. Not only do you smile when you are happy, but smiling can make you happier. This is called the facial feedback hypothesis, and it has been supported by numerous studies. When you activate the muscles used in smiling, even if you are not feeling happy, your brain interprets the signal as happiness and adjusts your mood accordingly. The effect is small but real. Similarly, frowning can make you feel sadder, and adopting an open, expansive posture can make you feel more confident. This is why practices like laughter, yoga, which involve deliberately smiling and laughing, can improve mood. The body and mind are not separate, they influence each other in complex ways. Understanding this can give you a simple tool for mood regulation. When you are feeling down, try smiling, even if it feels forced. The act itself can shift your emotional state, at least a little. Fact 77. You are biased toward attractive people. Physical attractiveness influences how you perceive and treat others in ways that go far beyond romantic attraction. Attractive people are judged as more competent, intelligent, trustworthy, and likable, even when there is no objective basis for these judgments. This is called the halo effect. One positive trait like attractiveness creates a halo that makes you see other traits more positively. Attractive people receive more help, are hired more often, receive lighter sentences in court, and earn higher salaries. The bias is automatic and unconscious, and it affects everyone, even people who are aware of it. The bias is also self-reinforcing. Because attractive people are treated better, they develop more confidence and social skills, which makes them actually more competent in social situations. Understanding the attractiveness bias can help you recognize when you are being influenced by appearance and make more objective judgments. Beauty is not a reliable indicator of character or ability, but the brain treats it as if it were. Fact 78. You need solitude as well as connection. While social connection is essential for well-being, so is solitude. Time alone allows you to reflect, recharge, and connect with yourself. Solitude is different from loneliness. Loneliness is the painful feeling of being alone when you want to be with others, while solitude is the chosen experience of being alone. Solitude can enhance creativity, self-awareness, and emotional regulation. It gives you space to process experiences, think deeply, and make decisions without external influence. However, the benefits of solitude depend on how you use it. Passive activities like scrolling social media do not provide the same benefits as active reflection or creative pursuits. Some people need more solitude than others. Introverts tend to find solitude energizing, while extroverts may find it draining. Understanding your own needs for solitude and connection can help you create a balance that supports your well-being. You need both, time with others and time alone. Fact 79. You are shaped by your culture. Culture is the shared beliefs, values, practices, and norms of a group, and it shapes your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in profound ways. Culture influences how you perceive yourself, whether you see yourself as independent or interdependent, as an individual or as part of a collective. It influences how you express and regulate emotions, how you communicate, how you think about time, and what you value. Cultural differences are not just superficial, they reflect deep differences in how the mind works. For example, people from individualistic cultures tend to focus on objects and their attributes, while people from collectivistic cultures tend to focus on relationships and context. Culture is so pervasive that it is often invisible. You assume your way of thinking is universal when it is actually culturally specific. Understanding that culture shapes the mind can increase empathy and reduce ethnocentrism. There is no single right way to be human. There are many ways, shaped by different cultural contexts. Fact 80. Sleep strengthens social bonds. Sleep does not just affect your individual functioning, it also affects your relationships. When you are well rested, you are more patient, empathic, and emotionally regulated, which makes you a better partner, friend, and colleague. Sleep deprivation, by contrast, makes you more irritable, less able to read social cues, and more likely to have conflicts. Studies show that couples who sleep well have more positive interactions and are better at resolving conflicts. Sleep also affects your attractiveness. Sleep-deprived people are judged as less attractive and less healthy, which can affect social and romantic opportunities. The relationship between sleep and social functioning is bidirectional. Good relationships support good sleep, and good sleep supports good relationships. Understanding this can motivate you to prioritize sleep not just for yourself but for the people you care about. When you sleep well, everyone around you benefits. You have traveled through the architecture of your mind, exploring the subconscious, the rhythms of sleep, the hidden patterns of thought, and the social connections that bind you to others. These final facts are about how you change, how you find purpose, and how you can cultivate a mind that serves you. A mind is not fixed, it is plastic, adaptable, constantly reshaping itself in response to experience. You are not the same person you were yesterday, and you will not be the same person tomorrow. This capacity for change is both a gift and a responsibility. You have more control over your mind than you might think, and with understanding comes the power to shape your own experience. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, let these final insights guide you toward rest and renewal. The journey through the mind is endless, but for now, it is time to let go. The architecture of dreams awaits, ready to carry you through the night and deliver you, transformed, to the morning. Sleep well. The mind knows the way home. Fact 81. Your brain is plastic throughout life. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. For decades, scientists believed the brain was fixed after childhood, but we now know it continues to change in response to experience, learning, and injury. When you learn a new skill, practice a habit, or adapt to a new environment, your brain physically changes. Neurons form new connections, existing connections strengthen or weaken, and in some cases, new neurons are born. This plasticity is why stroke patients can recover function, why London taxi drivers have enlarged hippocampi from memorizing streets, and why meditation can change brain structure. Plasticity decreases with age but never stops entirely. The brain you have today is shaped by everything you have experienced, and the brain you will have tomorrow will be shaped by what you do today. Understanding neuroplasticity is empowering. It means you are not stuck with the brain you were born with. You can change your mind literally. Fact 82. Meditation changes your brain. Meditation is not just relaxation. It is a practice that produces measurable changes in brain structure and function. Regular meditators show increased grey matter in regions associated with attention, emotional regulation, and self-awareness. They also show decreased activity in the default mode network, the brain regions associated with mind-wandering and self-referential thought. Meditation strengthens the connection between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, improving emotional regulation. It also increases activity in the insula, a region involved in interoception, the awareness of internal bodily states. These changes are dose-dependent. The more you meditate, the greater the changes. Even brief meditation practices, like 10 minutes a day, can produce benefits over time. Meditation is not about stopping thoughts, but about changing your relationship to them, observing them without getting caught up in them. It is a form of mental training, like exercise for the brain. The effects extend beyond the meditation session, improving attention, reducing stress, and increasing well-being in daily life. Fact 83. You can reframe negative experiences. Cognitive reappraisal is the practice of reinterpreting a situation to change its emotional impact. Instead of seeing a setback as a failure, you can see it as a learning opportunity. Instead of seeing a challenge as a threat, you can see it as a chance to grow. Reappraisal is not denial or positive thinking. It is a realistic reassessment that acknowledges the situation but changes the meaning you assign to it. Research shows that people who use reappraisal regularly experience less anxiety and depression and greater well-being. Reappraisal is more effective than suppression, which involves trying not to feel an emotion. Suppression backfires, increasing physiological stress and making the emotion stronger. Reappraisal, by contrast, changes the emotion at its source by changing the interpretation. The same event can be experienced very differently depending on how you frame it. Understanding this gives you power over your emotional life. You cannot always control what happens, but you can control how you interpret it. Fact 84. Purpose predicts longevity. Having a sense of purpose, a reason to get up in the morning, a feeling that your life matters, predicts longevity and health. People with a strong sense of purpose live longer, have lower rates of heart disease and stroke, and are less likely to develop Alzheimer's disease. Purpose provides motivation, resilience, and a buffer against stress. It gives meaning to suffering and makes challenges feel worthwhile. Purpose does not have to be grand. It can be as simple as caring for family, contributing to your community, or pursuing a passion. What matters is that you feel your life has direction and significance. Purpose is also linked to better sleep. People with purpose fall asleep faster and sleep more soundly. The relationship between purpose and health is likely bidirectional. Purpose promotes healthy behaviors, and good health makes it easier to pursue purpose. Understanding the importance of purpose can motivate you to reflect on what gives your life meaning and to cultivate activities and relationships that align with your values. Fact 85. Forgiveness benefits the forgiver. Forgiveness is often framed as something you do for the other person, but research shows it benefits you more than anyone. Holding on to anger and resentment is stressful. It keeps your body in a state of physiological arousal, increases blood pressure, and weakens the immune system. Forgiveness, by contrast, reduces stress, lowers blood pressure, and improves mental health. Forgiveness does not mean condoning the wrong or forgetting what happened. It means letting go of the desire for revenge and the rumination on the offense. It is a decision to release the emotional burden. Forgiveness is difficult, especially for serious wrongs, and it is a process, not a single act. But the benefits are real. People who forgive report greater life satisfaction and fewer symptoms of depression and anxiety. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is strength, a choice to prioritize your own well-being over the satisfaction of holding a grudge. You forgive not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve peace. Fact 86. Nature restores mental energy. Spending time in nature has restorative effects on the mind. Natural environments reduce stress, improve mood, enhance attention, and promote creativity. This is partly because nature provides a break from the constant demands of modern life, the noise, the screens, the decisions. Nature also engages your attention in a gentle, effortless way, allowing the directed attention system to rest and recover. This is called attention restoration theory. Studies show that even brief exposure to nature, like a 2-0-minute walk in a park, can improve cognitive performance and reduce mental fatigue. Nature also reduces rumination, the repetitive negative thinking that contributes to depression and anxiety. The benefits are dose-dependent. More time in nature produces greater benefits. Understanding the restorative power of nature can motivate you to seek it out, even in small doses. You do not need to hike in the wilderness. A walk in a park, sitting under a tree, or even looking at nature photos can help. Fact 87. You have more control over happiness than you think. Research suggests that about 50% of happiness is determined by genetics, 10% by circumstances, and 40% by intentional activities and mindset. This means you have significant control over your well-being. The activities that increase happiness are well established: practicing gratitude, nurturing relationships, exercising, helping others, pursuing meaningful goals, and savoring positive experiences. The key is consistency. These activities need to be practiced regularly to have lasting effects. Happiness is not a destination but a skill, something you cultivate through daily practice. Circumstances like income, health, and life events do affect happiness, but their impact is smaller and more temporary than most people expect. This is because of hedonic adaptation. You adjust to new circumstances and return to your baseline. Understanding that happiness is largely within your control is empowering. You are not at the mercy of external events. You can choose how to spend your time, where to focus your attention, and how to interpret your experiences. Fact 88. Flow states enhance well-being. Flow is a state of complete absorption in an activity where you lose track of time and self-consciousness. It occurs when you're engaged in a challenging task that matches your skill level, when the activity has clear goals and immediate feedback. Flow is intrinsically rewarding. You do the activity for its own sake, not for external rewards. People who experience flow regularly report greater life satisfaction and well-being. Flow is associated with peak performance. Athletes, artists, and professionals often describe their best work as happening in flow states. Flow also has neurological correlates. During flow, the prefrontal cortex shows reduced activity, a state called transient hypofrontality. This allows other brain regions to work more efficiently without the interference of self-monitoring and doubt. Understanding flow can help you create conditions for it. Choose activities that challenge you without overwhelming you. Minimize distractions and focus fully on the task. Flow is one of the most satisfying states the mind can achieve. Fact 89. Self-compassion is more effective than self-esteem. Self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend, is more beneficial than self-esteem. Self-esteem is based on evaluating yourself to others or achieving success. It is fragile and contingent. When you fail or fall short, self-esteem plummets. Self-compassion, by contrast, is stable and unconditional. It involves 3 components: self-kindness instead of self-judgment, common humanity instead of isolation, and mindfulness instead of over-identification with negative emotions. Research shows that self-compassion is associated with lower anxiety and depression, greater resilience, and more stable well-being. Self-compassionate people are also more motivated to improve because they do not fear failure. They know they will be kind to themselves regardless of the outcome. Self-compassion is not self-indulgence or making excuses. It is recognizing that imperfection is part of being human. You can be compassionate and still hold yourself accountable. Fact 90. R expands your sense of time away is the emotion you feel in the presence of something vast that transcends your understanding. A mountain range, a starry sky, a piece of music, an act of kindness. R has unique psychological effects. It makes you feel small in a positive way, shifting your focus from yourself to something larger. R-way also expands your sense of time, making you feel less rushed and more present. Studies show that people who experience awe report feeling they have more time available and are more willing to help others. Awe reduces stress and increases life satisfaction. It also promotes curiosity and a desire to learn. The experience of awe is accessible. You do not need to travel to exotic locations. You can find it in nature, art, music, or moments of human connection. Understanding the benefits of awe can motivate you to seek out experiences that inspire it. Awe reminds you that you are part of something larger, that the world is full of wonder. Fact 91. Your beliefs about stress affect its impact. Stress is often portrayed as purely harmful, but research shows that your beliefs about stress matter. If you believe stress is harmful, it tends to be. If you believe stress can be enhancing, helping you rise to challenges, it can be. People who view stress as enhancing show better cardiovascular responses during stressful tasks. Their blood vessels remain dilated, similar to the response during joy or courage, rather than constricting as they do during threat. They also perform better and report less anxiety. This does not mean all stress is good. Chronic, uncontrollable stress is harmful, but moderate, manageable stress can promote growth and resilience. The key is how you interpret the stress response. Instead of seeing a racing heart as a sign of panic, you can see it as your body preparing to meet a challenge. This reappraisal can change the physiological response and the outcome. Understanding that your beliefs shape your experience of stress gives you power to transform it. Fact 92. You are not your thoughts. One of the most liberating insights from psychology and meditation is that you are not your thoughts. Thoughts arise in consciousness, but they are not you. They are mental events that come and go. You can observe your thoughts without believing them or acting on them. This is the foundation of cognitive diffusion, a technique used in therapy to reduce the power of negative thoughts. Instead of saying, "I am worthless," you can say, "I am having the thought that I am worthless." This small shift creates distance and reduces the emotional impact. Thoughts are not facts. They are interpretations, predictions, and judgments that are often inaccurate. You do not have to believe everything you think. Understanding this can reduce suffering, particularly for people who struggle with anxiety, depression, or intrusive thoughts. You have the capacity to observe your mind, to notice thoughts without being controlled by them. This is the essence of mindfulness and the beginning of freedom. Fact 93. Kindness is contagious. Acts of kindness spread from person to person, creating ripples that extend far beyond the initial act. When you witness someone being kind, you are more likely to be kind yourself. When you receive kindness, you are more likely to pay it forward. This is called moral elevation, the warm, uplifting feeling you get when you see someone do something good. Moral elevation motivates pro-social behavior and strengthens social bonds. Kindness also benefits the giver. It increases happiness, reduces stress, and strengthens the immune system. The effects are amplified when kindness is unexpected, when it requires effort, and when it is directed towards someone in need. Kindness does not have to be grand. Small acts like holding a door, offering a compliment, or listening attentively can have significant impact. Understanding that kindness is contagious can motivate you to be the first link in a chain of goodness. Your actions matter, not just for the immediate recipient, but for everyone they touch. Fact 94. You can train your attention. Attention is not fixed. It is a skill that can be trained. Just as you can strengthen your muscles through exercise, you can strengthen your attention through practice. Meditation is one of the most effective ways to train attention, teaching you to focus on a single object, like the breath, and return to it when your mind wanders. Over time, this practice improves sustained attention, reduces distractibility, and enhances cognitive control. Attention training also transfers to other areas of life. People who meditate perform better on tasks requiring focus and are less impaired by multitasking. Attention is the foundation of learning, productivity, and well-being. Where you place your attention determines what you experience and what you become. Understanding that attention can be trained gives you agency over your mental life. You are not doomed to be distracted. You can cultivate the ability to focus. Fact 95. Sleep is when you become who you are. Sleep is not just rest, it is transformation. During sleep, your brain consolidates memories, processes emotions, clears waste, and reorganizes neural connections. The person who wakes up is not the same as the person who went to sleep. You are different, changed by the work the brain did during the night. Sleep integrates experiences, strengthens learning, and prepares you for the next day. Without sleep, you cannot fully process what you have learned or experienced. Sleep is when the day's events become part of you, when temporary changes become permanent. This is why sleep is so important for growth, healing, and adaptation. Understanding sleep as transformation rather than downtime can help you prioritize it. Sleep is not wasted time. It is when you become who you are. Fact 96. You are the author of your life story. Your life is not just a series of events. It is a story you tell yourself about those events. This narrative shapes your identity, your sense of meaning, and your well-being. The same life can be told as a tragedy or a comedy, as a story of victimhood or resilience, depending on how you frame it. Narrative therapy is based on the idea that you can rewrite your story, emphasizing different events, reinterpreting their meaning, and changing the plot. This is not denial. It is recognizing that there are multiple true stories you can tell about your life. The story you choose affects how you feel and how you move forward. People who tell redemptive stories where suffering leads to growth tend to be more resilient and satisfied. Understanding that you are the author of your life story gives you power. You cannot change the past, but you can change what it means. Fact 97. The present moment is all you have, the past is gone, and the future has not arrived. The only moment you ever experience is now. Yet most people spend most of their time thinking about the past or the future, missing the present. Mindfulness is the practice of bringing attention to the present moment, experiencing it fully without judgment. This is not about ignoring the past or future. Planning and reflection are important, but it is about recognizing that life happens now, and if you are not present, you are missing it. Presence enhances enjoyment, reduces anxiety, and deepens connection. When you are fully present, even ordinary experiences become rich and meaningful. Understanding the primacy of the present moment can shift your priorities. The question is not what you will do tomorrow, but what you are doing now. This moment is your life. Fact 98. You are connected to everything. You are not separate from the world. You are part of it. The atoms in your body were forged in stars. The oxygen you breathe was produced by plants. The food you eat comes from the earth. You are connected to every living thing through a web of relationships and dependencies. This interconnection is not just poetic, it is biological and ecological fact. Understanding your connection to the larger whole can reduce feelings of isolation and increase compassion. It can also inspire a sense of responsibility. Your actions affect others, and their actions affect you. You are not an isolated individual, but a node in a vast network. This perspective, sometimes called systems thinking or ecological awareness, can shift how you see yourself and your place in the world. You are part of something larger, and that is both humbling and empowering. Fact 99. Growth comes from discomfort. Comfort is pleasant, but it does not lead to growth. Growth happens at the edge of your comfort zone, where you are challenged and uncertain. This is true for physical fitness, skill development, and psychological resilience. When you push yourself slightly beyond what is comfortable, you adapt and become stronger. This is called hormesis, moderate stress that produces a beneficial response. The key is finding the right level of challenge. Too little and you stagnate. Too much and you become overwhelmed. Growth requires discomfort, but it also requires recovery. You cannot be in challenge mode all the time. Understanding that discomfort is a sign of growth can help you embrace it rather than avoid it. The things that scare you are often the things that will help you grow. Fact 100. Sleep is the final surrender. Sleep is the ultimate act of letting go. You release control, you stop striving, you trust your body to take over. Every night, you practice dying a little, surrendering consciousness and identity, dissolving into the unknown. And every morning you are reborn, consciousness returning, identity reforming. Sleep is a reminder that you are not in control, that there are processes larger than your will. It is a practice of trust, of faith that you will return. In a culture that values control and productivity, sleep is radical. It is time when you are not doing, not achieving, not even conscious. Sleep is pure being, and it is essential. As you drift towards sleep tonight, know that you are engaging in the most natural and necessary act. Let go. Trust. The architecture of dreams will hold you, and in the morning you will wake transformed.